it's going to be a crazy little chart to look at, right? To see these gigantic swings back and forth with people making tons of money. And there's going to be a lot of people losing a lot of money too, because they're not going to be paying attention to all that. The people that just speculate, that thinks that they can just get the copy and then just hold on to it, then they'll just wait a few months and then maybe they'll be able to get the same dollar value that they had across the other side. But if they actually want to turn into a trader and try to make some money off of it, there's a huge potential that they'd be able to rake up quite a bit of cash by doing that. Potential, I said. Potential.
Yeah.
Still risky. Still very risky. So I think that you'd have to be quite the professional to understand a lot of how all that works. Though.
When Pulsechain, sir? When Pulsechain?
I'm thinking Pulsechain probably beginning of next year.
It's only too bad. Not
well,
far off.
Yeah, because I think that the bear market didn't really start until November of last year. Generally,
you think, yeah?
Yeah. And generally the bear market lasts about a year to the day for people to actually start feeling like they're tired of it and they've had enough, right? Everybody's already bought the bottom as much as they could. The market makers have already scared and shook out everybody that they can by increasing the parabolic low, pretty much. I can almost guarantee that everybody in this room has at some point in time during this bear market regretted some of the decisions that they made during that last little run of the bull market. They're like, oh, okay, I'll give you an example. I threw in about $30,000 at about 18 cents on Hex. So you'd think that maybe somewhere in my head I would go, well, that was probably a mistake because I kind of knew that we were on the downtrend and yet I still did it anyway. But in my point of view, I know how this all works. To be able to get the contract for Uniswap available so you can actually legally do stuff with the V3 version, it only makes sense that they would wait for that anyway. It's going to help all of us out if they do that. Implement the code now. While they're already working on all the stuff, implement the code now, not through an actual public testnet, but through a private testnet where they already have it all ready to go. So they can just let it go and start it right away. And then they don't have to worry about any legal implications and they don't have to do any actual work through bot and all in private testnet to know that it all works. And then they can just vampire attack all the liquidity instead of just part of it. It only makes sense and it's the best thing for all of us to have that happen. So we're at least looking at October. November would be the technical end of the bear market, but with the bear market kind of dragging along the way that it is, I think the liquidations that have been recent of these big giant players have kind of like made it look like the end was close. But now they're just going to around with this sideways bumping along, up a little, down a little, but still on this downward trend for a few more months to come. So maybe November, maybe just a little bit after November, maybe around October, right? Because we never really hit the lows. There wasn't a blow off top. And since there wasn't what everybody expected to have a blow off top in the first place, then we may not have that low like what Richard Hart is calling for 10,000 BTC. It may only go to 14,000 and maybe like the last bull run kind of people when they thought that instead of 3,000 or 4,000 BTC on the low end, that it was going to go all the way down to 1,000. Well, it never did. And there's a lot of people that got left in the dust because of that. But I still think that the best case scenario for Pulsechain is to not launch now, not launch in a month from now or 2 months from now, but to just wait till the end of the year. Wait until at least October so you can at least finish the code how it needs to be properly handled in the first place, especially since that end of that copyright agreement is going to come to fruition. And even if Uniswap at that point in time, if we're banking on that and Uniswap at that point in time decides to re-up and evaluate their code, like change their code, get some lawyers, reevaluate the copyright for another couple years, then at that point in time, I'm pretty sure that Richard Hart and his team can just go say f you and make all new code again for a V3 version, and then they just won't vampire it, but they'll have their own V3 version. And on top of it, those holders that are in Uniswap that have Uniswap tokens, the majority of those guys are all hexagons. The reason why Uniswap got to where it was mainly because Richard Hart promoting it and telling hexagons to go in there and utilize their protocols. And you can see it in the data from how Uniswap was trading, that was all pretty much from Richard Hart. So all those airdrops that got dropped out to, the majority of all those airdrops going to liquidity providers and holders were all hexagons. So they pretty much damn near control all of Uniswap. So if they stop and sell all their tokens, they can easily just dump Uniswap and then go right over to this other protocol because Richard Hart said so. So they have some vices, some like pretty much the proverbial hands around the throat of a lot of crypto right now, Richard and his team. I think that it's highly likely that for the sake of Pulsechain, that you could speculate that it would be smart to, be a billionaire and then launch in the bear market where he himself could manipulate the entirety of all of Pulsechain and all the alts that are involved on his own to be able to make it look like the highest, most appreciating thing that's going going on during a bear market. Look at this. You know, this thing that we just launched isn't even affected by the bear market, even though it is. And it would take a little bit amount of energy, economic energy, to keep that charade up, right? That Fugazi moment. And I think people were like saying these things out loud, like in public, like, yeah, you should just do this because you got enough that you could just keep it up, right? Make everyone, and then suck everybody into this side over here, thinking that some people are going to actually dump the speculation through the markets, right? And then just move over to Pulsechain. But I think it would be a hell of a lot more economically friendly and a lot more smart to not do that. Just wait till the actual bottom and then let the markets drag everybody up. You don't even have to spend any extra money. He wouldn't even have to use a bunch of economic wealth to be able to pump the prices. Just the economic wealth of all the markets going back up on the trend reversals will do it all on its own. And then the economic wealth that he has, he can maximize that whenever he wants, because obviously if you have so much money and you're going to speculate and buy a product, it's going to be your own. So I don't see why he wouldn't do it that way. It makes a lot more sense to do it that way. So I would say that, you know, maybe like November at the earliest, maybe Christmas, maybe a month afterwards, because if the code for Uniswap and the V3 and the AMM fixer bots all going to have to be redone again, and then more testing is going to have to be done on testnet for all those again, then you're probably going to want to take maybe a month or two to test it out for everybody and make sure that the shit that you just changed is all going to work properly. Which, I mean, the AMM fixer bots pretty much like run it 10 times and then you'll know if it's working correctly and then it's over with. But they still have to re-implement all the code for the V3 side. So maybe Christmas Day, that would be pretty awesome, right? Knowing that you're just having the trend reversal a month prior, things are starting to look good, people are speculating, and then boom, you could launch Pulsechain. And then because of Pulsechain, it's going to have an economic swing, right? Where the markets will respond just because of that. And then Richard Hart can sit on a platform and say and tell everybody without needing any facts, because it isn't even provable, but he can still say it, that the bear market trend reversed because of Pulsechain. And he will forever and ever stand on that podium and say that I called the bottom and I called the top and I called the bottom and I caused the bottom because of Pulsechain, which people are going to get more. I mean, even Bloomberg and all those other entities that are out there that have trading TA sites on them and ranking sites and shit like that are going to have to look at Richard Hart and go, well, fuck, they're going to have to.